just about had it with jobs, guys. Okay, you'd ask yourself, this doesn't look good, Graeme, when that's there with junk on the floor like that. I've been mowing the lawns trying to buy myself some time. A twig goes up inside, it's a brand new mower, it's jumped the pulley. I take the system off, get down, find the pulley, put the pulley back on, get everything lined up again, bolt it all together, sweep all the rubbish up, you know, that's there. I went, what's that on the floor? You've done it, a lot of you guys have done this with fishing wheels, I dare say, oh goodness me, there's a washer on the floor, except this is a washer with a spline cut into it. Where the hell does that go? So it's obviously dropped out. Anyway, by pure luck and judgment, I managed to locate where I think it's gone. It's too late, it's in there. I've mowed the lawn, I've got some time to go fishing. I am going fishing with something called a Chummer float. But I need a sort of soft ground bait. I've got 2 loaves of bread, and this is how you can knock it out quick and get it all mixed together. And what you can do is freeze it down in bags for future. So you do 1 knock up of ground bait. I've got some ground bait in the shape of the cheapest bread I could lay my hands on. Strip it out, drop the lot in there. This doesn't go as far as you think, to be honest. So I've got 2 and I've got a spare for bait, because I need a bit for hook bait. Give it a bit of a soaking. Now you can mash it up with your hands. Oh, it's a bit like a sponge really, you've got to get it all mushed up. I need a bit more water. I'm doing it with a watering can because I'm too lazy to go all the way and unwind the hose pipe. This way you sort of only get messy just the once. You can see that soaked all that up. We call this stodge. When we go down, I used to fish years ago, this is mine, as I always like now, the Dorset style for roach and chub. In the winter, I used to be using stodge. Obviously bread on the hook. Now once you get this broken up a little bit like this, with your fingers, you can get yourself, if you've got one. Now they make these for ground bait mixing. It's like a whisk. Obviously I'm not going to go and buy one because I've got a plasterer's whisk for when I do my various attempts at plastering. Okay, let's have a little bit more water in there. So we've got the old drill, and then just work away with the whisk. I don't do it flying because it goes everywhere till I get it soft. So once I get it broken up a bit, then I can let the whisk run a bit longer. Right, so it's pretty sloppy now, and this float, it's like a swim feeder float that I've seen, and particles are going to drop down. I'm going to be fishing, I guess, a couple of feet down from that float. More rags, more rags. So I want to put a bit of ground bait in there, and then hopefully more projects. I'll keep my ground bait, other than in a sack obviously. I keep my ground bait in these old sweetie jar things. So there we go. Put a bit of that in. That's just so those little particles can break up from the base of the float. Check the consistency. Bit sloppy, so I'm going to put some more ground bait in. So because I'm fishing close to the car, I'm going to chuck that in the car so I can always add to it, can't I, if I want to when I get there, because this will actually firm up a lot more. And I always keep one spare because you can put it in but you can't take it out. Sort my gear out, throw it in the car, going to pop over to Grant to tackle up and just double check how to rig up this Chummer float.
Hi there, Graeme. Right, so you want to talk about Chummer float. So I'm assuming we're going to Watmore Farm to have a go.
Yep.
So what a Chummer float is basically a feeder, but fishing it from the top down. So we're feeding the fish with the ground bait, which we're going to plug inside here. And when we cast it out, plop, the float pulls up and the ground bait falls out. Okay?
And you can suspend that at whatever depth you want.
Whatever depth you want. So there you go. That's you can see where it's sort of, that's where the ground bait's coming out. Yeah. And how you rig it up, basically this one has a sliding stop knot, which you could either use, which I've got out of packet to show you, just the float stops.
Yeah.
So you can slide one of them up your line first, and then a swivel, and then down to your hook. And the idea being it's sliding, so that when you cast, it's nice and tight all together.
Yeah.
And when it hits the water, the feeder slides up, hits the stop knot, empties the contents, and then hopefully you pick a bite up almost instantly.
And takes?
So takes will probably be quite aggressive normally, especially if it's carp. So they will just come up, hit that, turn and run normally, so your rod will be round. So it'd be very similar to fishing like a pellet waggler in a way.
That's what I'm thinking of, because they do that up there.
Yeah, so it's basically a pellet waggler method, but you're using the ground bait, which you're feeding from the top down, which gives you all the layers through the water, all the particles, and the fish hopefully will come up and feed on them.
Can you use a split shot there if you want?
You could use a split shot, yeah. I think the idea of either doing a sliding stop knot or a float stop rubber is the fact of, for very quick and easy, you can just slide that up your line with very little, you know, friction or anything. It's very easy, rather than breaking your split shot, putting up the line, doing the same. But it's exactly the same difference whether you use the split shot, tying on a stop knot, or using your float rubber stops.
Yeah, I'm just going to be using ground bait in there, but looking in there, it looks like there's two different sizes, isn't there?
You've got two different sizes. So to be fair, you could fish pellets in these, you could put anything in, but I would still want a bit of ground bait, because these ones are quite large with the holes. When it hits the water, obviously ground bait, and that's going to disperse. So pellets being more particle might fall out.
Yeah, so what would you put? Pellets up first? And I mean, I'm just using bread, but
I would soak some pellets,
and a plug of ground bait.
Yeah, and a plug of ground bait just to hold it together. And that would be about it, really. So yeah, very simple method, but very effective on certain waters.
I should try it. I should try it. I've got my ground bait ready. And you say there's a different type one for?
Yeah, so this one, I imagine if you can either put some maggots in it, or you can use pellets, etc., whatever, because as it moves around, stuff falls out. But maggots, obviously, that's a maggot feeder with a float on the top, basically.
Oh, I see. So this one's blocked in at the bottom.
Blocked
you
in
don't
at
have
the
to put
bottom.
ground bait in.
No, you don't have to put ground bait in it. Well, we'll show you. Let's open one up and we can show you.
You're going to get a staple gun now.
That's all right. I'm sure I'll put the staple in my finger as well, as always. So.
Oh, it's on a spring, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a bit of power gum in the middle, like a lot of old feeders. So it's like a block end feeder. And then you can fill it up with maggots, a bit of ground bait whatever you like, push it on there. It attaches on your line exactly the same way, rather than having the hoop with the swivel on it.
Yeah.
It's got an eye built into the actual elastic on the bottom.
Well, I should give it a go anyway, but it's something a bit different. Just see how we get on with it. Brilliant. Okay, thanks for that, Grant.
Let me know how many you catch, Graeme.
I will. I don't know if I've got enough loaves of bread. So, finally rigged up. Got my Avon rod fixed ball reel, and I'm just going to fish a treble A shot, a single hook there, and just leave it laying somewhere down in the margins with a big piece of bread flake on as a bonus. And the one I'm going to be using is this one. Is, as we saw with Grant in the shop, it's going to come down like this, and the float is going to be here, but being full of ground bait, in a short while it will be that way up. We'll throw it out, we'll see what happens. The ground bait will come out. I don't know how long this bait will take to come out the feeder itself, but just 3 or 4 minutes, something like that, and see if we can't get a bite. It might be a question. I'm not throwing any ground bait in at all, just going via the Chummer, the actual feeder itself. It might pay just to keep a bait tub full of water there, because it gets pretty gunky putting that ground bait, and you get it on your fingers. You can at least dip your fingers in here, wash off. I've got the towel down here, carefully place it by the stinging nettles. No. And I'll try and put my ground bait bucket this side, so I'm baiting up this side and I swing it round there. So this, I'm going to move up. I won't use all of this. I'm going to freeze some when I get home, put it in a plastic bag. That's firm though, it's nice and sticky, almost gluey. Going to drop some down here. And that'll just break up and get eaten up by virtually everything. We're going to see how this works. I'll drop a couple in there, because here at Watmore they do come in close. So that you can see what I mean. So this way you can rinse off your fingers. Got the rag there. Bait up and away you go. I actually got the brolly up because the wind is like the 7th or 8th or 9th day in a row. It's blowing. It's fishable, but it's not much good for me with a microphone. So all I've got is a loaf of bread now. We get a couple of slices of bread just to hand here. So it's ground bait, bait up, in there. Wash my hands, dry it, out we go. I wouldn't expect anything first cast out because the roach are going to be chewing on it. It's very, very, very gluey. Rinse that, otherwise it's going all over the rod top. Rod butt, sorry. It's going to drift around a bit. That won't really matter at the moment if it's drifting, because I've no idea where the fish are. And I'm just going to put the rod resting down here. When I really get into the fishing a bit more, because I want a sandwich, at the moment I will be holding the rod like this, because I expect quite a take. And you can of course move it to get the ground bait out, but you run the risk of the piece of bread flake coming off the hook. I can tell I cast to the right and I'm already going into the reflection of that pylon there, the reflection in the water, so to give me a good marker for casting again. A single piece of bread flake I'm just going to virtually lower down here and hope something hangs itself. So you can't put bang sticks in the staging, so I've made this up, which I can wheel around like this on my trolley. Now I can put it it's about there. A couple of rod holders screw into this and the rods will be resting up higher. That's it. Move the food, bring over this other one, and there's my backrest. Organisation is key. Well, even though the wind is blowing off my back, as you can see the slick area and the wind over here, this is pulling, it's got a circular, pretty well circular sort of lake. So I'll wind most of the line up in here, and then I could always keep this a little diluted washing up liquid there. Just dribble some over the line like this, and that should help it sink, and it shouldn't drift out of position quite so much. Better with a rod like that. I think I'm actually going to come in a bit closer with this wind. Now I can sink the line there now a bit more without degreasing on there. A big piece of flake folded round, pinched tight over the eye of the hook, but keeping the back end free. Just let that drop. And I can just sit there. A little bit of bait over the top won't hurt. Well, it took about 15-20 minutes to get fish coming up on that ground bait coming out, but I'm hooked up and I'm guessing it's got to be a carp. Well, it'd be nice to get one on this method. Personally, it's just a different way of fishing. You could fish a waggler float out there and then catapult bait over the top and possibly have the same effect. But this way you have got the accuracy of knowing the ground bait comes out of that actual float, as it were, suspended. So it's going to tumble down right over the top of where your ground bait is and your hook bait are in line. couple of bangs on the inside here. I've got it on back wind as well, just in case I get what we call a churner with the reel going backwards and forwards. Well, mostly backwards actually, Graeme. Just another method that you guys can try. It's called a Chummer float. And I guess I want to talk, so here comes the jet. I don't feel a bad fish between the head shakes. So noisy. What a world we live in. Trying to get peace and quiet is just unbelievable. Fish is going well. It's only about 5 pounds. I'm on my standard Avon rod, quiver tip on the right hand side here, and a standard Avon top section on this one. Come on, Mr. Fish. Oh no, he's a 7 or 8, probably 7s. Oh, save the blink. And there we go. Oh, he's probably 8, that one. Yeah, he's a good 8 pounds, that one. Is indeed the Chummer float. That's about, I'll say it's about 8, that one. I'll take it. Now I wonder if other fish have moved in there as well. I've got that one by putting the ground bait almost around the outside of the feeder, if that makes sense. Just dipping it in there like this and just leaving it on the outside, because it's a big gobful that comes straight off as soon as it hits the water. Bash, I just move it once. If you have big enough roach, you just fish a tiny little pellet of bread, like a, what they call a bread punch size, on I don't know, I suppose you'd say 14 hook, something like that, about size 14, and you could possibly get roach like that as well. I might even do better shortening that trace up a bit, from 30 inches to about 12-15 inches, because this is a match water, so they know what floats are. But if you do put the rod down, as I am at the moment, just make sure you're on back wind at the very least, to be on back wind. About second cast out again on the Chummer float. See if we can film a fight fish one-handed. I can't wind. He's digging now. Oh, 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 oh. This one could be a stand-up job. Let me bing off for a second, guys, till I get this, because this is a better fish. That is definitely double figure fish, guys. No question. Look at the size of that one. Just nicked in the top there. Getting on the way to 15s. There we go. That is a nice fish. That's almost close to weighing. That might be a bit more. I'm going to call him 15. Wow. Chummer float works. I may well regret not weighing this one. Whew. Of course, now you can see, using that mixing machine, you know, the old mixer upper, did the job, saved me a lot of work, and I've got loads to freeze down still. There we go, I told you about the roach. And that was on a really big piece of flake. Well, there's another one in the net, guys. I didn't film the scrap. Also get around my camera pole. So it's another nice fish, check him out. On the float. Just a few odd bangs on the ledger. There's the old chummer float. There's a carp. Other side is 7. I'd be pleased to catch a 10 that big, I have to say. So, going well. Going very well. Nothing on the ledger yet. A couple of pointers. Okay, so I'm happy enough using a waggler float like this, just a piece of bread flake, worm, maggots, whatever your hook bait's going to be, your choice of the day, underneath the float, okay? And your wind is unbelievable. You're catapulting out your feed like that, but when you've got a circular lake like this, sometimes you get it with big reservoirs, it gets a sort of bowl effect, and you do get drag even in deep water. This is not shallow, this is deep out there, it's probably 12-14 feet, so it still circulates. Well, as you're feeding the same spot, let's say I'm lining myself up, you see, with that pile on there, that's fine, but my float's dragging out of position, but the ground bait I'm feeding is coming down accurately. That's not getting pulled too much by the current. It was the wind and the current itself is what's moving it along. Whereas at least with the chummer float, it is, if I come out of that wind, it's so annoying. And the moorhens. At least with the chummer float, as it's moving along, bits of food are dropping out, so it's sort of on a long trail of ground bait, if you like. Just a little tip there, I thought I might point it out to you that obviously that's where that chummer float does actually have, yeah, perhaps an advantage, I don't know. The other point, I'm not getting anything on here now. If there's a silt or leaves on the bottom, especially in the autumn, bread flake, sometimes it's white, you think they see it, but it lays in amongst the leaves or debris or bits of weed. You can, if you put the shot really close to a piece of crust, you can fish what's called a piece of balanced crust. So there's the lake bed like this, there's the lake bed, your treble A shot or swan shot is here, and you just fish about a 4-inch trace, snood, dropper, call it what you like, link from there shot to the actual hook. So it's just popped up off the bottom. I think I'm going to try that here, a little piece of balanced crust. It will still get chewed by the fish, but I figure it's worth a try. It sort of puts the bait right in the zone in the face of the fish. So if you've got pretty gluey sort of ground bait, just wet your hands first and then it will come out quicker. It won't stick to your fingers. Watch. Much better. It's if you do that with dry hands, it probably sticks to your hands and will just fall off a little bit sooner or a little bit later when you're not baiting the right area. So on top of that, I'm going to put a piece of balanced crust. All this can be poured in and then you can replenish, because fish will come in close later on just on that hand wash stuff. So there's my piece of balanced crust, and literally 4 or 5 inches away is my shot. Now the actual shot is towing that crust down to the bottom. film on back wind there, and I just either watch the quiver tip or I watch the bow in the line, and rather than move the handle I can tighten up the tension by just revolving the spool. Right, let's get back to that chummer float. Oh, I'm on again, guys. This time the float bumped a couple of times and I thought, have they knocked the bread off? Because it's about 2 feet down, you don't know what's going on. And then I saw it bury. So you got to almost wait until they pull that float under, I think. Listen, it's obviously working. Nothing on my balance crust close in. This fish is about 6s. He's in. Not the world's greatest mouth. I think we'll pass on the inspection of that one. But nevertheless, it's number 4. Whew. Who would have thought? Basically, a swim feeder, open at one end, with a float at the other, would work so the ground bait can tumble out. I guess mostly for carp, I'm guessing. Well, it is at the moment. Well, I've had the 4 carp, but it's peculiar, even with this wind, because I can feel, because this is running up and down, look, sliding up and down. Because I'm holding a net, I do it all the time, it's just habit, done so much of it. I always touch ledger like that, I've got the line across my fingers, and I can feel little tiny tweaks and bumps that I think are the roach, and there's some decent roach in it, actually pecking away at that bait. So I'm going to drop right down the hook size, and just try a tiny pellet of bread, because I think given a small hook like that I could actually discover. Well, I had 2 roach, look, I've had 2 roach, can't grumble. Right, let's tie this on, and then I'm hoping this wind will actually drop off a bit. And there we go, people. I've missed a few bites, only a small one. I just dropping the hook size. There's the float, shallowed it up from here about, what's that, 14 inches, and only a small roach, but though I knew I could feel taps on the line. Fold it a few times like this, put the hook through. Always want the hook point clear, so you can pretty well squeeze it quite hard around the line there. And then all I'm doing is just sort of crushing the edge of the feeder into the ground bait. I'm not even putting it inside, so I know it's coming out as soon as it hits the surface. One little tweak, because I can afford to move it now, because I've actually missed that fish, but I've actually got a smaller hook, and I should feel that bite either through the line. Maybe the roach can't pull that under, but I can feel it like this through the line. Almost worth trying that maggot feeder that Grant was showing us, because I think if you had a small hook and a lighter link, you could fish at distance and possibly get more roach. I'd certainly take the maggots better. Oh, I'm on. I've missed it again. That's every cast since I've gone to the small hook and a small pellet of bread. Every cast I'm getting a bite. I'm going, well, I'm not putting grass on it, but I'm going smaller and smaller and smaller. Almost bread punch size. Just tap the feeder in like that, so I think it comes out on impact. Obviously, the farther you cast, the more trouble you're going to have setting the hook. I can feel them tapping. Down here where I've got the line across my finger, I can feel them tugging at it already, even though they're not pulling the float under. Yeah, I'm tight to it now. And down here I can feel the line across my fingertips. Now the other one I can go on here, if they did really come on the feed, is I take that treble A shot off of there, I put a single BB on in this wind, I cast out, I'm missing them you see, slow sinking piece of flake, letting it go down, throw out a piece by hand, and then follow it straight up and let it sink. And as it's sinking through that 14 feet of water, you feel a tap or a tug on your fingers here, or where the bow enters the water. It's an absolute pinnacle for me of getting a take fishing. It's literally all you have is a hook and a tiny, tiny shot. Might even get round to that later on this afternoon. Well, it's late this afternoon anyway. I've actually a couple of times, because I'm putting this feed on the outside of the cage like this, I've had carp, I'm sure, at distance I can't quite see, come up trying to get hold of this to eat it, I'm sure. I'm trying to allow for the wind out there. Sort of variant of fishing, you could do it with a waggler, but it's just something a bit different using this float. Guys, I've lost about 40 minutes talking to Andy. It's gone all quiet. And where I put that 2 balls of ground bait down there, I've had to put some more down there. There's some carp down there. I don't know if you're going to see them. They've eaten a lot. They've eaten a lot. I've got to give them another ball of ground bait. Hang on. We're on. Put the camera in my mouth again. Well, that was a bit of luck, guys. What would be nice is to finish off showing you a camera shot of a float going under near in here. I might just work on that. One of those fish down here was a big one there. So we'll see if it'll quieten down for 5 minutes, and I'll see if I can pick one up on the float down here. Fingers crossed, eh? Ledger 0. We're back in action on the float this time. This one's giving me a bad time, people, so I'll have to put the camera on the head. Unhooked in the mat. He's picked up the other line as well. Should be okay. Hopefully he's not tangled in it. I'll catch him twice. Well, I think you'll agree it's worth mixing that ground bait up down there. I had a good time. What's that? 5, 6, 6 fish? 6 fish I've got now. I'd like to get a big one down under there, because that was a decent fish I saw, but that float has done the business and absolutely nothing on the ledger rod. I think there's only a couple of us left on the lake now. You can see the wind is still up, but it's been handy because it's blowing offshore here, so offshore, I'm off sea fishing now. And I think a lot of the other guys have actually gone. My ground bait balls are 1, 2, 3, 4 down there, but we might get lucky and have one come up. That's a longer one. Try out there. Thing is, the float stops here and I can just pause it and the bait will go past it, hopefully. And because you can see this orange float, I'm looking at that 30 plus yards away. Now I've gone way out. I don't seem to be getting any bites out that far. And looking down here, I still see my ground bait, nothing moving over it. So it might be it for the evening. Well, mirror carp on the float this time. So you're nice and chunky across the back there. Let's get it back. Oh God. Oh, double, got a churner. That was on a 3-line piece of bread flake. Well, you can see why I said always have the reel on back wind in case you get a churner like that. Wow, what a session it's turned into. I'm going to click it off because I'm already done one battery until I get this fish in. Well, I think we can all agree the Chummer float's working. Another nice common about 11, I suppose. Nice looking fish. Ooh. Before the jet comes, guys, I think you'll find this is a number 11. Oh. That one ironically on the ledger, but I think you'll find the Chummer float came out on top. 11 fish, I think. Must be 8 or 9 on the float. The others on the 3-line and the BB ledger. Oh, this little thing here has definitely done the business, hasn't it? Who would have thought it? A swim feeder upside down with a float attached to it. So, hope you've enjoyed this one. And listen, as Grant mentioned, this is the one that takes the maggots as well, so why not give it a go, both with the ground bait and your bait of choice, or the maggot feeding one as well, and put maggots on the hook. I have a feeling you'll get lots and lots of small, medium fish. Big baits, big fish. Guys, we'll see you in the next issue. I'm off for a beer. Well, there you go. I can't do any more than go and sample a piece of tackle. Look, it's just another method of fishing, but for commercial fisheries, my goodness me, you could do pretty good with that. So give it a go if you want. I'm not saying rush out, we don't sell them. If you want to try one, try one. They might not work so well, you know, in the winter we got coming. It's more spring, summer, autumn type thing, and I personally think autumn is a good time for that type of sport. What else am I going to be doing? Oh yeah, this tickled my fancy. Anybody know what feathers they are? Can you see what those ones are, guys? I've got those down as red kite feathers. I don't know whether they're wing feathers, tail feathers, I don't know. There you go down that, you can see them better. They're not the really flecked ones, but I'm going to try and peel these off I'll do it at another one. Peel them off. I've no idea, I don't know whether I've used these, I mean we use goose quills and all that sort of swan quills, whatever we could get hold of years ago. I'm talking 50 years ago. So I'm going to peel these feathers off, try and make floats of it, go and catch some fish with them as well. But what I'm figuring, they might not be great for oil content, as it were, to be sealed up, like say duck feathers, swan feathers like that, water birds, that's what I say, waterfowl is the word I'm looking for. Thank you, Smith, appreciate that. So I'm going to give these a go, but people are going to let me know, peel this off, should I varnish that first to seal it up, because obviously they're a predator bird flying around, they don't go in the water too much. I'm just guessing, like they might not be great really for doing the job unless I seal them up. So I'm going to try varnishing, but I will wait. You guys on the comments page, you float makers out there, let us know. If it's not a waterfowl, is there less oil content in there to make them sealed and buoyant? I don't know. So we'll see you guys in the next film. Don't forget, you might miss the midweek specials that I'm pumping out at the moment. Obviously, there might be fishing, there might be no fishing on them. There will be some with no fishing, but there might be something of interest to you. You never know, do you, till you watch. It's generally on a Wednesday at 7 o'clock, and I'll try and keep my fishing films on Friday at 7 o'clock. So really nothing's changed, it's just an extra film that you get. Don't forget, hit the subscribe button, watch TA Fishing, go over to Mike, see what he's up to at TA Outdoors. He's been doing like little mini survival kits at the moment, it's quite interesting. And fingers crossed, next Wednesday, a few days away, we'll see you again.